I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. So congratulations on everything you have going on.
Thanks.
It's a lot. You got a lot of irons in the fire.
Yeah.
But at the forefront, your new album coming up, Second Wind.
Yes.
Let's dive into that. Tell me about that. What are we hearing this go round with this album?
Oh, you're hearing a lot of new sounds from me. Sonically, I think we took it in a much more pop direction than we did with All I've Ever Known, which is something that I wanted to do. I really just wanted to kind of highlight the light and airy and fun part of this record, because you do kind of start off in the All I've Ever Known land, right? The first song, Better Off, on the record was actually written in that era. And we decided to kick off the record with this just to kind of seamlessly bring the fans from one record into the next. And then I put a lot of thought into the sequencing of the album. So it kind of brings you from All I've Ever Known into kind of the angst and the anger into, wait, I deserve better than this, into the love portion. And so that's when you get the songs like The Last and Second Wind and Feminine Energy and Cupid's a Cowgirl all at the end there. So we put a lot of sequencing in, or a lot of thought into the sequencing, and I'm just really excited. I hope people kind of catch on to that.
That's funny, because I was going to ask you about that. I was like, there's still remnants of All I've Ever Known, but then you come back with, everything's good, I'm good, and you find a new love.
Right.
Is this true?
Yes.
And I know you're probably
very much. But have you ever listened to a record and you fall in love with it? And listen, I'm very aware that I have OCD, and I do, and I do listen to a song and just drill it into my head until I'm sick of it. Same with an album. Like, it's like Renee Rapp's album right now. It's just like all I listen to. But like, I wanted people who felt really emotionally attached to All I've Ever Known to not kind of get this shock of we're instantly in. Sonically sounds completely different, but lyrically is just, oh, all of a sudden we snap our fingers and what? We're light and airy and in love again. It's like, that's not really how it goes. And so I really kept the OG fans, the All I've Ever Known fans in mind, and I wanted to ease them into this record. And so, yeah, that's why you have those remnants at the beginning.
So talk about the emotional shift. What's the difference there between writing an album from pain to an album of mostly joy?
Well, it's a lot more fun, I'll tell you that. No, it's a blast. It's a very different approach, right? Because I'm not just like, cutting open, bleeding on the paper. Like, it's very, very different, where with All I've Ever Known, and especially since I released it as an independent project, it was very much for me and for my healing. And I honestly didn't even think I was going to release it until I showed the songs to enough people, and they were like, you need to put these songs out. And then I started teasing it. And of course, it resonated with a lot of people going through the same thing. But with this, I had a blast. I really, really pushed myself. And I think I have my producer, Andrew DeRoberts, to thank for that, because this was the first time I ever worked with him on a project, and he's done a lot of pop projects. And so he really supported me in leaning things a little bit more pop and really pushing the envelope, but keeping it very AK, to where the fans wouldn't feel just so shocked like I was stepping into a different role, but more like, oh, growth. I wanted them to feel growth and hope through this. And I think that really feeds into the title of Second Wind as well. So
when writing the two albums, you were very vulnerable on the first one.
Yes.
Do you feel like you were as vulnerable on this one? And do you find songwriting to be therapeutic for you instead of going to therapy, you write songs?
Oh, for sure. I go to therapy too. But yeah, I do both. But I've always thought it therapeutic since the beginning. I started writing songs when I was like 12. They weren't good songs, but they were songs nonetheless. And I just kind of started writing in general when I was young. I would write short stories. I would write diary entries. And then I started writing a lot of poetry. And then I just kind of started hearing like 90s Jody Messina melodies in my head. And I was like, I guess I write songs now. I like really fell into it in that way, but always been a creative writer. And the difference here is I got to do a lot of really, really cool collaborations with different songwriters that I think really brought out a fun side of me as a songwriter. For me, my easy as a songwriter is leaning into ballads, honesty, 3 chords in the truth, whether that be sad, or angsty or angry or whatever it is, but like really being truthful of where I am and what my feelings are right in this moment and just giving that, on paper. And so where I really had a lot of fun is collaborating with people like John Knight, where it's like, I'm not writing ballads with John Knight, right? Like we're not. We wrote so many fun songs for this record, including Right Now, which obviously you can hear is like my Alexandra Wallen moment. We've got some 808s in there. And I really felt like I pushed it there. And I felt like what's really going to be cool, and I'm excited, is to see the fans react, because they're going to hear that and they're going to go, we still listening to an AK record? But you listen to lyrics, it's very much an AK record. And I was able to still be just as vulnerable and just as honest in the lyrics. But sonically, John, my other co-writers, Andrew DeRoberts, they helped me push it. Yeah.
Was there a lyric or a song that you were writing that you may have second guessed putting it out there, or being so vulnerable on? Maybe it's more so for the first album, but anything on this album that stands out that you're like, maybe I shouldn't, or?
Well, you know, there's a song called Hell Right on the record that is, in the bridge is when you really get to that kind of AK signature, should I say this, should I not? And that's where I came into the write, and we talked a little bit about it, and I said, I think we put it on there, you know, but we did question the, you know, if it was going to end like it did, why'd you let me get married? Like because you're asking God these questions. And so, but I said, let's just do it. I mean, I've never shied away from saying things that I feel like other people wouldn't feel comfortable saying. And I feel like somebody has to say it, right? I mean, I can't imagine going through my divorce without Kelsey Ballerini's record.
Oh my
You know what I
God,
mean?
Such a good,
Incredible record.
really
I can't.
welcome mat?
Yes,
Oh my God.
I can't imagine going through it without it. Because we are made to think, as women especially, to be so ashamed of a relationship ending. And for some reason, it's like all of a sudden we have a big spotlight on us, and it's like, well, what didn't you do to keep it going? You know what I mean? And it's like, wait, hold on. We were both at fault here. But when I heard Kelsey's record, it made me feel so much less alone. And it just reiterated that whole thing with somebody's got to say it. Somebody's got to write the songs that are hard to write, because we need them. People need them.
Absolutely. Helps people get through. People can relate to it. That's
Exactly.
Authenticity in country music is what people look for.
That's what I love about country music.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's what sets us apart.
Yep. So the title track, Second Wind,
Yes.
it's kind of about second chances and, you know, at what moment do you think you found your second wind? Where were you in time that you were like, I'm ready to go?
Well, I found it multiple times and this is why I named the album Second Wind, because I definitely found my second wind when I decided to stop feeling sorry for myself. I was broken when I went through my divorce. Like literally my brain was broken. Like I couldn't leave my house. I would get panic attacks every time I even went down the elevator to try to leave to go grocery shopping or get in my car. I couldn't leave. I couldn't talk to anybody. I couldn't do anything. I was literally getting like skin rashes from stress and trauma. It was a very, very hard time. And one day I just went out for a walk because I knew I needed sunlight or I was never going to make it through this, you know? And I was like, today is the last day that I let this control me and that I feel sorry for myself. And today is the day that I take my life back. But I also feel like second wind applies to my career as well. I've had a career that goes like this, and I'm grateful for all of those dips and valleys. So grateful. But this is my first major label debut album. And although I have been signed a couple of times, I haven't released a record with those labels and my first record was independent. And I just feel like I'm just catching my second wind in this industry when I think that most people, having lost 2 record deals and was on a Netflix original series that was supposed to change your life and then flopped in front of everyone, you would think that most people probably would throw in the towel, and I didn't. And yeah, I feel like I caught my second wind, and I have the perfect team to help me out with writing it. So
I love that. So did that what was it, West Side on
yes.
Netflix?
Mm-hmm.
Did that flop and that kind of change your mind of ever doing that again?
Oh, no, didn't change my mind with ever doing it again. The scenario was very interesting in the way that it was mismarketed and things that happened, And so, but I know I'm very excited to hopefully one day get back into TV, and one day I want to have like a guest appearance on a major show or something like that. Like that's at the top of my bucket list for sure. But when we were writing Second Wind, I was leaning into my boyfriend Rocco a lot and our relationship. And yes, he's right back there. He's about to come play some songs for you guys. But we wrote it together with 2 of our friends. And as soon as we heard the title, I said, whoa, that describes us, because I was distraught. And we had known each other. We had just been friends. And it was when something changed in me and I started looking at him differently, and we kind of let ourselves feel more than that for each other, that I realized why my relationship ended. I realized why nothing ever worked out before, because it was just the purest form of love I've ever felt. And it truly just brought me back to life. And so I was happy we got to write that song together, and it was the perfect title for the record.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Is the last for him?
Yes.
Okay.
I embarrassed the heck out of him on stage too. We were just on tour with Brad Paisley. And I'm always like, I want to introduce you guys to somebody. And he's got like this solo during the song anyway. So I like bring him out on the thrust. And I'm like, this is Rocco, and everybody screams, and I'm like, he's my boyfriend. And he's like, just gets so red every time. And I'm like, I'm going to sing you some songs I wrote about him. And so I had to introduce you. Otherwise he would just be in the corner feeling awkward while I was singing about him for the next 30 minutes.
That's awesome.
No, but he's great, and everybody loves him. And, yeah, it's been incredible.
And you're happy.
Happier than I've ever been in my whole life.
I saw that you said that. So explain that feeling, where you are in that.
It's the purest form of happiness, right? We've all felt happy, but knowing deep down that there's something wrong, and you're able to truly be happy through that, but it's not a genuine form of happiness. And this is the first time in my whole life I've ever felt that. I've ever felt safe. I've ever felt secure. I've ever felt truly loved and appreciated, and felt like what I give is reciprocated. Just the first time I've ever felt that way. And like, it is a trust like I've never felt before. And it's just pure. Pure is the best, I think, word I can say to describe it, because you don't have to try.
Well, now you know that that's how it should be. And now you know how you're supposed to be treated.
Exactly. And that's why I wrote What He Does, which comes out on September 12th. So I wrote What He Does about him as well.
So talk about how he kind of changed your songwriting journey or perspective to write these kind of songs.
Well, when I first started writing love songs, because it had been so long since I've written like real love songs, that I was having trouble with it. And when I say that, I think you know what I mean. Like they were cheesy. They were cheesy. And I was like, no. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't how I meant for this to come out. And it just kind of was falling into the cliche of it all. Like, this is a song I've heard a million times. And I was like, okay, so how do I ease myself into writing love songs again? And I started by doing that with Rocco. I started just writing songs with him. And that's where I really started to, I guess, kind of fall into the purity of a real love song without thinking, how can I make this hook more catchy? How can I make sure that this has got that windows down feel? Is the tempo right? You know, when I write with him, I don't think about any of that stuff. And we just connect on a creative level just as much as we do on a personal and emotional level. And so I'm really, really grateful for that. He's like my favorite co-write.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So now I want to go from love to darkness.
Yeah.
One song that popped out at me on the album called Nobody.
Yes.
A little dark.
I was just about to start. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
So just talk about that. Tell us the story behind that song, what mindset you were in, how the idea came up, and go into that.
I just have to tell you, I'm so excited that that just segued into you talking about Nobody, because I was about to tell the story about Nobody, and then I'm like, I'm such a yapper. I'm like, stop getting ahead of yourself. But so that was my first co-write love song. Because I said, guys, I'm writing all these cheesy love songs, and like I want to write a song, and here's my idea. It's really creepy, and it's like, if I can't have you, nobody will. But if you don't want me, then nobody's going to have me either, right? And I said, let's just make like this really creepy, angsty love song. And so we wrote Nobody. And I wrote it with Emily Falvey and Pete Good. And I have been in love with this song from the second that we wrote it. And even when it was like just this little, like very bare bones work tape. And I was showing Katie, my head of A&R at my label, and I was like sitting backstage at a show, and I said, I gotta show you the song. And I pulled up this like really bare bones work tape, and it's just like kind of all over the place. And I'm just like playing all the instruments with like mouthing all the instruments and like being like, and then this is gonna go like this, and I'm like, you know, and she's like, and I'm like, I promise you, it's gonna be so good. And so I have loved the song since before the song was even really a song. And so to hear how it came out on this record, I just really hope everybody loves it the way that I do. So I'm really glad you brought that up.
Yeah, it is a great song.
Thank you.
It stands out, but as I was listening to it, I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden they're at the funeral or whatever in a black suit in the front row. I'm like, wait, what happened? I'm like,
she's gone. She's out of here. And then I'm literally going to be in the casket in a music video like this. Is he crying? Does he miss me?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. So is there, when writing this album and all these songs going from, remnants of All I've Ever Known to Love, anything that you learned about yourself writing these songs that you hadn't known about before? That was surprised you? Or no?
Honestly, I learned a lot about myself in writing this record. I think that a lot of my co-writers taught me a lot in the writing process, because I learned just how easy it is for me to just kind of spill my heart out. But I think I learned a lot leaning into, I guess, more of like the pop, lighthearted kind of songs, and just how much easier it is, I guess, for me to just kind of like spill my heart. And it just, I had a difficult time at the beginning, like trying to make songs like Tomorrow Problems and songs like Cupid's a Cowgirl, even though literally by the end of our write at Cupid's a Cowgirl, I was jumping on the couches at BMG. I learned a lot about myself as a songwriter through that process. And I learned a lot from John Knight. I learned a lot from John Green. I learned a lot from Andrew Roberts and Allison Veltz. And I just feel like I grew so much in this writing process. And I'm so excited to have gotten to learn from all of these incredible people. I got to write with Liz Rose during this time. The song didn't make the album, but I've always looked up to her forever. And it's, I grew tenfold as an artist, as a creative.
Yeah, you've got some great writers on.
Yeah, thank you.
But you're about to embark on a tour. Your own headline tour. This is your third tour this year? Yeah. Your own headline tour? That's amazing. So, but you just got off with Brad Paisley. Mm-hmm. You've toured with Jelly Roll last year. So everybody. So talk about what's an Alexandra Kay show look like? What do we see when we go to your show?
Well, first of all, this show, it's so floral. It's like big flowers and the lights are beautiful. There's going to be like a big, projector back here. And so we're going to get to really set the scene with all of these different beautiful visuals. And when you're looking from the crowd to there, that's what you're going to see. You're going to see this big 5-foot cylinder that I'm standing on. You're going to see a few outfit changes. You're going to see a lot of ups and downs of emotions when it comes to the set. Rocco's our music director, and him and I work really, really closely to kind of curate the emotional roller coaster you're going to be on throughout the show. We work really, really hard on that. But if you're looking out into the audience, you're going to see ages 10 to 70. I mean, it is absolutely insane. Everyone's wearing pink. There's bows everywhere. There's sparkles everywhere. They're screaming every single word. You've got a little girl screaming the words to Ever Leave while her mom is bawling her eyes out, screaming the words to Ever Leave. I mean, it's an incredible experience. And if there's one thing that I will always, always be the most proud of, it is the relationship I have developed with these people and the relationship that they have with the music, because I remember getting these same feelings listening to Taylor Swift's first record when I was early in high school and thinking, how does she know exactly what I'm going through? And I've been able to give those feelings to hundreds of thousands of people. And it's one thing that I'll always be really, really proud of, that they never have to feel alone.
Well, that's where it comes back full circle to the authenticity. When
100%.
People relate to it and they'll come out for it.
Yeah, which I think is the coolest, because it's like 70-year-olds relating to the same thing that like, and then you have 5-year-olds screaming, skip this part, and best worst ex, and not bleeping out the S word. And I'm like, no!
Age is just a number, right?
I know, right?
That's what they say.
Exactly.
And one last thing I wanted to talk about. With all this going on, you opened a coffee shop.
I did.
Talk about that.
I did. So I opened my first coffee shop. It's called The Coffee Girl. And I started doing these coffee covers in 2020, and I went very, very viral for them and ended up, making coffee with Tim McGraw and Randy Travis and the Backstreet Boys and Jody Messina. And I've had a lot of Tracy Lawrence. I've had a lot of really, really great experiences just making coffee and singing with some of my favorite people in the industry, and had some really, really viral videos and successes from that. And that kind of kickstarted my career. So I always knew one day I wanted to open a coffee shop called The Coffee Girl, because that's what everybody called me on TikTok. And I did. I opened my first location in Waterloo, Illinois, which is my hometown. I got to retire my dad from a job that he's been in for a long time, and now he is the GM of The Coffee Girl. And I love working so closely with my dad. It's like one of the greatest joys of my life. And it's very floral, very pink bows. You literally cannot miss the building. It is a bright pink building with flowers, draping from the balconies, and there's a big hand-painted flower mural painted across the whole building. It is so gorgeous. We serve breakfast and lunch. We're a full cafe, and it is my favorite thing I've ever done in my life, and I can't wait until I get to open my second location in Nashville.
When is that coming?
I don't know yet. But you know what I've always looked forward to is, how everybody has like their bar on Broadway when they get to that certain point of their career. I want to have my coffee shop, and I want it to be like a family-friendly place for everybody to be able to put on their Nashville checklist. And that's going to be a big, big bucket list check off when I get to do that.
That's awesome. And I take it pink's your favorite color?
Yes.
No.
What
gave me that idea?
Yeah, right.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.